but when they attempted to bring the buses into the ground, events turned ugly. Windows in the buses were then smashed by stone throwers. Bottles and missiles were also thrown. The buses were later driven away under a police escort. The police say a number of officers and people were injured in the trouble. Cliftonville chairman Jim Boyce says the players reluctantly decided not to take the pitch. Last month, Cliftonville supporters were prevented from travelling to Glentoran's ground. Mr Boyce says the situation must be resolved. It is a blight on the game and an indication of the problems facing the country. Later, Cliftonville supporters blockaded the M1 motorway. We'll have more details on our sports programme, Saturday Sport, coming straight.
At Shamrock Park, there was a very large demonstration outside the ground. Now, let me say that this demonstration did not take place by Portadown Football Club supporters, but they were protesting about the Cliftonville supporters coming into their area. Unfortunately, the buses were very badly attacked, and I believe one is completely wrecked. And in the interest, obviously, of public safety, they then turned round and went home. This situation has got to be sorted out. It's a blight once again upon the problems of our society and the problems of our country.
Another sad day for the league this season, and I understand that there were injuries to some people on the buses, some people who indeed were relatives of some of the players. I can't tell you who was injured or many injuries just yet. We'll try and keep you informed on that. Right, back to the action on the pitch. The football results from the Premier Division of the Smirnoff Irish League. The games that did finish: Coleraine 3, Glentoran 2, Chris Walker sent off, and then 2 for Sammy Shields, 1 for John Forsberg for Coleraine, 3-0 up. Glentoran staged a comeback, Glenn Little and John Devine, but not enough. Crusaders beat Ards 3-1. Trevor McMullen for Crusaders and Aaron Callahan among the goals there. Linfield 3, Glenavon 0, pictures coming up. And Portadown 0, Cliftonville 1 was a latest score. That game abandoned at half-time. Barry O'Connor with the only goal. Windsor Park.
It's reported that several people have been injured during the stoning of Cliftonville supporters' buses before today's Premiership game at Shamrock Park. The match itself was abandoned at half-time. It was at that stage that the news of the attack filtered through to the Reds' dressing room. Friends and family of Cliftonville players and officials were on the buses, including the son of manager Marty Quinn. Cliftonville decided against continuing the match. Yes, good evening indeed. More off-the-pitch problems for Cliftonville today. The incidents appear to have been triggered by a pre-match protest. A number of locals were unhappy at Cliftonville supporters being allowed into their area. The violence followed, and in the interest of safety, the Cliftonville buses returned to Belfast. Gary Ellis spoke to the Cliftonville chairman, Jimmy Boyce.
Yes, before today's game, there was quite a demonstration going on outside the ground. Now, let me say that no one was aware that a demonstration such as this was going to take place. We had been assured, in fact, that there would be no demonstration today. But the Cliftonville players and the manager spoke to the RUC along with myself before the start of today's game, and we were given an assurance that the protest would be entirely peaceful and that our supporters would definitely be admitted to the ground. Obviously, a lot of the supporters' buses today had wives, relatives, families of the Cliftonville players on the buses, and some of the players were reluctant to take the pitch in case there was going to be serious problems, but they did. So at half-time, we learnt through the RUC of some very serious events that once again, unfortunately, have happened outside the ground. I'm told that one of the official buses has been completely wrecked, and I'm told that the other one has been badly damaged, and I'm also told that there have been several people badly injured. So the players decided that really enough was enough. They took the pitch a few weeks ago in the Ulster Cup semi-final. We played the game. They want to play football, they want to get on with playing football, but they feel that in the circumstances at the minute, with so many friends, so many relatives, that they just basically can't concentrate on playing football because they don't know what's happening.
Jimmy Boyce, the chairman of Cliftonville. A league investigation will begin next week. Now let's check on the matches that managed to finish today, and starting at the showgrounds. Coleraine 3, Glentoran 2, a thriller there, I'm told. 2-0 it was to Coleraine. Glentoran came back in the dying minutes, and then a second from Shields made it 3-2 at the end. Crusaders 2, Ards 1, goals from McMullen and Dornan. Ards took the lead through John Bacon. Linfield 3, Glenavon 0, action from that in a moment. And Portadown 0, Cliftonville 1 was the score at half-time. Barry O'Connor scoring after 4 minutes, but of course that match, as you know, was abandoned. Well, we focus in terms... This is just before the game, and Portadown stressing today that it was not their supporters causing any trouble or protesting before the match, but locals. And some Portadown supporters could not get into the ground themselves. Reports today that several people have been injured during the stoning of those Cliftonville supporters' buses at that Premiership game at Shamrock Park. The match itself was abandoned at half-time. The match delayed before kick-off. No Cliftonville players on the pitch. This is about 3:10 this afternoon, and the drama was occurring outside the ground. Eventually, we had the late arrival from the Cliftonville fans, Cliftonville players, and of course the match only lasting 45 minutes. At half-time, the Cliftonville players refused to come out for the second half because members of their family and friends were on the Cliftonville buses, including the son of the manager, Marty Quinn. As I said at the start of the programme, several injuries reported.
Liam on Cliftonville Football Club. It's not Glentoran's fault, it's not Portadown's fault. They can't do anything about what happens out there in the streets. But what I'm saying to you is that the people who are continuing to create this type of activity have got to realise the seriousness for Irish League football and for sport in this province. Because as I've said, and I make no apology for saying it, football and sport should be kept completely different from any political problems.
And that was Jim Boyce, chairman of Cliftonville.
Come out for the second half when buses carrying their supporters to the game were prevented from getting into Portadown Shamrock Park and attacked. The police say they were assured the protest would be peaceful, but they were forced to intervene when bottles and other missiles were thrown. Portadown officials have blamed outsiders for the violence. The police say a number of people, including 5 officers, were injured. Chief Superintendent Bill McCreesh says every effort will be made to bring to the court the vicious thugs behind the attack. The 34-year-old man...
Fahy reports.
The first sign of trouble on Saturday was when the buses carrying the small contingent of Cliftonville supporters arrived at Shamrock Park. A crowd of protesters had already gathered at the ground, and as the fans approached, there were violent scenes.
We noticed that crowd on the left-hand side as we're driving up, we're racing towards Shamrock Park. So I advised everybody on the bus just to watch themselves at the windows and all, because we may get a bit of hassle. But when we got up the ground, it was just a huge crowd. It was just going berserk, really going mad, punching the windows, kicking the bus. The police were trying to sort it out.
I really hope so.
What about the wider impression that this whole business gave to the league? It's a bit depressing from your point of view, isn't it?
It's very depressing because I've always held our league up as an example. In 27 years of unrest in this troubled province, football has, by and large, remained aloof from it all. We have provided a vehicle whereby people could go on a Saturday, see a football game and enjoy it and go home and forget the rest of the problems that have occurred during the week. And this is perhaps, well, not the first time. There has been 1 or 2 isolated incidents, but I would be very, very concerned if this was the sort of ongoing thing and it maybe happened at other grounds. So we would like to see it stamped out forthwith and as soon as possible.
Morton McKnight, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
And tomorrow night, a special edition of Spotlight will examine weekend events surrounding that whole business at Cliftonville. Rose.
The Cliftonville fans have been prevented from attending a local soccer match. Last month, local residents blocked the route to the Oval in East Belfast. There's concern among Irish League officials that a definite pattern is emerging.
The league, quite frankly, are appalled at what happened on Saturday. Very, very angry at what happened on Saturday because it's not about football. Football has, for the past 27 years, and I keep saying this, provided a vehicle whereby people could go along on a Saturday afternoon, mingle on the terraces, enjoy themselves. We don't want this creeping into football.
The fear is that if the situation escalates, Cliftonville could go the way of Derry City, who were forced out of the Irish League in the early 1970s.
When Belfast Celtic and indeed Derry City left Irish League football, there was a void which has never been adequately replaced. It would be utterly catastrophic if Cliftonville were to go out of the game, because there is a place for Cliftonville Football Club, the oldest club in the country, the one that gave football to Ireland.
This is the worst crisis that the Irish League has faced in over 20 years. If last Saturday's protests are repeated at other grounds, Cliftonville's future in the league could be in real doubt. Des Fahy, UTV Live, at the Irish League headquarters.
So what now for Cliftonville? Well, I'm joined by the club chairman, Jim Boyce. Jim, did you have any inkling of this protest on Saturday afternoon?
No, I've got to say, Paul, I didn't. The first inkling I had was when I bought the Saturday morning edition of the Belfast Telegraph and I saw a small piece saying that there was going to be a peaceful protest before Saturday afternoon's game. It was only whenever I arrived at the ground that I realised how serious events were going to be.
Now, there have been accusations that Cliftonville supporters have been provocative in the past. Do you accept that?
Of course I accept that, Paul, and I would also accept that a lot of supporters of a lot of clubs have been provocative in the past. But let me say something to you, Paul. No one has condemned those actions from any supporters who have brought this club's name into disrepute more than I have. I've always done that. But the vast majority of the Cliftonville supporters are well-behaved people who just want to go along on a Saturday with their families to watch a game of football.
Are you concerned now that protests like East Belfast and Portadown at the weekend could be repeated over and over again?
Well, I sincerely hope not, Paul, because what have people to achieve by this? The protests have been made now. Let's get back to playing football, because the serious consequences for Irish League football in general are very, very serious. And I would hope, as I say to you, that this will never be repeated again. I'm only thankful on Saturday that the children and all of the people in those buses were not seriously injured.
Perhaps one answer would be to ban supporters from away games.
Well, there are many answers, Paul, and I think everything at the moment has to be looked at, but quite honestly, I hope that doesn't happen, because at the end of the day, what's that going to gain with football? At the end of the day, people want to go on a Saturday afternoon, relieve the tensions from their everyday business, and go on with enjoying a game of football, and I would hope that common sense prevails in this issue.
There is one other question mark, and that is, can you survive within the league if this kind of trouble is going to accompany every away game that you have?
Well, let me put it this way. As Morton McKnight quite rightly said, and Malcolm has quite rightly said, Cliftonville are the oldest club. We established the Irish League. And certainly I will do everything in my power, with the help of everyone connected with the club, to ensure that we do survive.
Is leaving the league an option?
Pardon?
Is leaving the league
of course it's not an option. I mean, we must continue to play football, Paul. And can I say that in all my life, I have never been involved in any bigotry or sectarianism of any kind. I condemn it no matter what quarter that comes from, and I sincerely hope that people out there will now allow Cliftonville Football Club to play the game on a Saturday afternoon in peace.
Jim Boyce, thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Now, still to come, Pamela Ballance.
Supporters met a solitude last night to discuss Saturday's ugly scenes when their match at Shamrock Park was abandoned after crowd trouble outside. The fans vowed to stay away from future games if they feel under threat, and suggested that all their away games be played in Belfast, at Windsor Park or Solitude. Cliftonville have taken heart from a newspaper poll which found that 79% of football fans here want them to stay in the Irish League.
Crusaders were reduced to long-range efforts like this off-target shot from Glenn Hunter. And it was Cliftonville who forced the pace. Tim McCann showed good control as he moved through the Crusaders' defence. And his well-struck drive was just over McKeown's crossbar. Cliftonville started the second half as they'd finished the first and were soon rewarded with a goal. Jerry Flynn and Barry O'Connor were both involved, and Sean Strang supplied the confident finish.
It's a good finish indeed. Well,
I want to treat it with its proper sensitivity. So could I just ask any for a grant from the Community Relations Council? Just a few quid on this, you know. But I noticed that last week that Cliftonville had to abandon a football match at half-time. And the thing was, the sectarianism didn't surprise me. What surprised me was that Cliftonville were actually winning 1-0 at the time. That's not happened in a long time. Well,
ending O'Connor's cross, Sean Strang with a finish on 53 minutes. 9 minutes later it was level. Callahan at the near post with the header from Burrow's corner. It finished 1-1, but overall football was the winner. Yes, indeed.
Handball by Mickey Donnelly was ignored by Eddie Miller. Linfield took the lead after a corner from the right. The clearance fell to Tony Gorman, and it was a case of have a quick look, aim and fire for the midfielder. There aren't too many tap-ins in his repertoire. But Cliftonville battled hard for their point. Donnelly knocked the ball back and Sean Strang got up for a deserved equaliser. 3 draws from 4 games for Cliftonville, but Linfield goes
another cracker from Tony Gorman. It fell perfectly and his strike was sweet. The Reds' equaliser came from Sean Strang after head tennis in the penalty area. On to Shamrock Park.
In Cliftonville, here's the headlines. The Reds win 1-0 with a very late goal. We have a report on their first win of the season. 3 away wins here. Coleraine 0, Cliftonville 1, highlights coming up. Crusaders 0, Linfield 1, highlights coming up. Glentoran 2, Glenavon 2, Tom McCourt for Glentoran. Sammy Johnson with 2 for Glenavon and a late equaliser.
The corner for Cliftonville. In comes the header, taken off the line by the fullback. Powerful header, taken off the line by Brunton. McCann gives the ball away to Forsberg. Early ball to the back of the penalty area. McAllister's shot straight at the goalkeeper. And that foul on O'Dowd gives Robert Brunton a chance to put Cliftonville under pressure. Near post, right across the goals, and Gaston at the back post just really can't get on the end of it. For the last 3 minutes, still scoreless. Brunton with the free kick for Coleraine, and it comes, and they just get it away. Comes back to Greg O'Dowd, and then at the back post, Gaston. Oh, what a chance for the big man at the back post, but he just couldn't keep it down. 3 minutes from the end, and Gaston almost stole it there for Coleraine. Stoppage time, cross into the Coleraine penalty area. They haven't got it away yet, and then it's finally hooked clear. Comes back to O'Neill. In comes the shot. Oh, what a goal! What a goal by Mark O'Neill! Right in the 90th minute, the very last moment of the match. Mark O'Neill, a cracking shot from distance, and the bottom club, who haven't won a match this season, take the lead against the league leaders. Cliftonville 1, Coleraine 0.
Dramatic finish there. Our second match is from Seaview with a dramatic finish.
The Blues, that's ended now 2. Glentoran 2, Glenavon 2, and Portadown 0.
7 points clear at the top of the table, though the Reds remain stuck at the foot. Linfield now up in the second after ending their Crusaders' jinx, and the Irish revival continues thanks to victory at unhappy Portadown.
Cliftonville manager Marty Quinn paid tribute to his players after they pulled off the shock of the day. A 1-0 win over previously unbeaten Coleraine at the showgrounds. Mark O'Neill was the Cliftonville hero with a spectacular winner deep in injury time. But Quinn had words of praise for all his players. A real team effort is how he described the victory. It was Cliftonville's first win of the season, and they certainly enjoyed the moment.
Also at number 6, it's Tom Brady and Ballyclare Comrades' first division win over Larne. Proof here that big defenders can be vital at set pieces. At number 5, Glentoran's late equaliser against Glenavon. Defensive indecision, yes, but full marks to substitute Darren Finlay with the left foot volley. It paid off. Number 4 was also at the Oval. Long throw-ins always difficult to mark, but Glenavon's Sammy Johnson gets credit for finding the space and the finish. In third place, it's Linfield's winner at Seaview, all down to the experience of Stephen McBride. His late run and header at the far post, catching out the Crusaders' defence. For the runner-up, it's back to the Oval and Sammy Johnston. A quality build-up, a very tight 1-2, poorish defending, but Johnston's enterprise deserved the goal. But goal of the weekend had to be Mark O'Neill's last-minute winner for bottom-of-the-table Cliftonville against league leaders Coleraine. The chest control good, the dipping volley very special, to give the Reds their first league win.
Yes, Mr. O'Neill will certainly remember that goal this Monday evening.
Results. It's important for Cliftonville that they don't lose touch at the bottom. And Mickey Donnelly did his part in the first half against Portadown. It was the second spectacular Cliftonville goal in a week. But this time they had to settle for a draw. Gary Haylock's goal was Portadown's first in the league in almost 6 hours of play.
First goal 3 minutes into the second half. But just 2 minutes later, Mark O'Neill blasted in a superb equaliser, just Cliftonville's 6th league goal this season. But the Reds would drop points for the 9th time in 10 matches. Baxter, the top scorer in the Premier League, secured the derby win. Much last.
Glentoran were paying the penalty at the Oval long before the sudden death shootout that would decide the match. The Glens reduced to 10 men when Darren Finlay was sent off, not for the lunge at the goalkeeper, but for what happened next. Keep an eye on Finlay as he gets to his feet before aiming a headbutt at the Cliftonville fullback. Finlay's red mist earned him a red card. It only got worse for Glentoran after that. With the penalty shootout at sudden death, Pete Beattie had every reason to hold his head in his hands. It left Tim McCann with a chance to win it for the Reds, and win it he did, to send his team into the semi-finals. You could forgive the celebrations afterwards. Before last night, you wouldn't have put your shirt on Cliftonville winning a penalty competition. 1992 was the last time they'd come out on top. In that time, Cliftonville lost 8 successive shootouts, until the Oval, when they finally got it all right on the night.
The true meaning of fantasy football. With me, Tim McCann, the scorer of the winning penalty. How big a relief has that been at the club?
Well, it was very, very big relief, you know. There's a lot of pressure on the club over the last few games, and a success in this competition will help us greatly, you know.
Now, when Mickey Donnelly stood up and missed the first penalty, what were the rest of the players thinking?
I think they were thinking, no, here we go again, but there'll be a bit of doubt where Mickey takes the next penalty or not, you know, so we'll on from there.
You stood up, though, and scored the winner. The celebrations afterwards, you may have thought Cliftonville had won the FA Cup.
Well, as I say, you know, I think it's 16 penalty shootouts, and it was a very, very big relief for to knock that goal in, and there's a lot of pressure on you when you're up there, I'll tell you.
Do you think this will give the club a boost now, perhaps, in regard to the league form as well?
Yeah, well, that's what we need. We need a bit of confidence throughout the team, and last night's win can only help us build that confidence, you know.
And you've got Linfield on Saturday. That's a big one for you.
It is indeed, and hopefully we can pick up from there, get 3 points and start moving up the table, you know.
Linfield will be without Tony Gorman. I imagine that would give Cliftonville a bit of a lift. You're going to have Tony Shepherd in there for his first game too.
Yeah, well, hopefully that Tony Shepherd can move in and do a job for us. And with regards to Gorman, I don't think Marty Quinn sort of pays too much attention to the other team anyway when he's giving his team talk, so we'll just go about our business as usual.
All right, thanks for coming in. Well done last night too. Well, Irish League interest in the Irish...
The game in hand, after a 4-2 win over Cliftonville at Windsor Park. Tom Cleland give the Blues a first-half lead before the kind of scenes that are becoming a weekly occurrence in the Irish League this season. Even the referee was involved this time. Seeing red at the end of all this, Linfield's Stephen Beattie and Cliftonville's Sean Strang, both of whom will now be suspended for the Boxing Day programme. When the dust had settled, Linfield cleaned up with 3 goals in 4 minutes. Stephen McBride made it 2-0 from the spot after Barker had been fouled. The same player made it 3-0 a minute later. Good work down the left. McBride with his 10th goal of the season. Ian McCush completed the rout with the 4th and best a minute later. That wasn't the end of the action, though. Davy Collins beat out Mickey Donnelly's penalty before Paul Stokes struck with a goal every bit as good as McCush's. Tim McCann danced through the Linfield defence for a second, but it was too little too late for the Reds, who remain rooted to the bottom of the table. Win of the season over the team just 1 place above them in the table, Ards. Stoke struck twice in the second half, and although the Reds stay bottom, they're now only a point behind Roy Coyle's side.
Well, in the first division, Ballymena...
It was today, could they make that territorial dominance pay? And when Andy May combined with Kirk in the 22nd minute, they almost did. 7 minutes later, that double act did deliver. 29 minutes gone, the handy Andys combining to make it 1-0 Glentoran. May's cross perfect, but Hill and Davy should be concerned that Andy Kirk was able to get there with such ease. The Reds could only manage to mount one first-half attack of note. Strang to Boyle, but O'Connor's finish well off target. The Glens could, indeed should, have gone 2 up just before half-time. A glorious ball from Michael Smith picking out Rory Hamill, but Armstrong and McCourt combining to keep it out.
Right, it finished 1-1 at the Oval. There's the tables, the gap.
Here's our weekend roundup.
And the points were shared at a bitterly cold Oval. Proceedings warmed up for the home fans. The cross here from May and Andy Kirk. Who else? With the headed goal. And with Kirk comes the usual celebrations. Amazing scenes in the final 3 minutes. All action for Cliftonville's Michael Collins. A real blockbuster this, and the player sent off for aiming a punch at Chris Walker. The Glentoran fans not too pleased. Collins with an escort and a red card. Down to 10 men, and Marty Quinn's side needed a break. They got it in the final minute. The ball in from McCann, and Sean Strang with the finish. Tommy Cassidy saw red with his defence, but Cliftonville, a very valuable point for them.
McGregor and Russell Robert Casey for Portadown. Artskeeper Stephen Henderson sent off there. Cliftonville 1, the league leader is Coleraine 1. Rob Brunton with a penalty in the first minute for Coleraine. Equaliser from Paul. Was a chance to get back to winning ways. A solitude for us. Paul Atchison watched the first half.
Coleraine hoped new signing Danny Shipp from West Ham would get them back to winning ways, but no one could have anticipated Colerane's dream start. With just over 1 minute gone, they were awarded a penalty. Cliftonville skipper Mickey Donnelly adjudged to have used his arm to control the ball. The linesman had a perfect view and he alerted the referee. Bobby Brunton gave Paul Rice no chance with the spot kick, and Coleraine lead 1-0. 6 minutes later, and Shipp had a great chance to increase the lead, but he couldn't make a clean contact. Cliftonville played a lot of attractive flowing football, with Tim McCann working well on both flanks. He set up Mark O'Neill here, but he rushed his shot and the chance was lost. With the Reds desperate to move off the foot of the table, they pushed hard for an equaliser, but the Coleraine defence was well organised and restricted them to long-range shots. This effort from Jerry Byrne well held by the keeper. Coleraine led 1-0 at the break.
It finished 1-1. There is the table. Coleraine still at the top, still a 2-point lead over Crusaders in second place. Linfield third on 23 points, but a game or two in hand there. Glenavon losing ground today, but still in fourth place. Glentoran.
McGregor and Mark Pemberton. Cliftonville 1, Coleraine 1. Bobby Brunton with a penalty early doors. Paul Stokes equalising. Glenavon 2.
Coleraine, that despite taking a first-minute lead at Cliftonville. Mickey Donnelly handled in the box. Robbie Brunton scored from the spot. Coleraine haven't won in the league since November the 23rd, and they'll have to wait another week at least. Paul Stokes' 70th minute equaliser, leaving it Cliftonville 1, Coleraine 1. David
Cliftonville at Windsor Park kick off there 7:30. The Crews are bidding to reach their third final of the season, but they'll not find it easy against their North Belfast neighbours.
Never mind the boots. A clean sheet tonight is what Cliftonville's talented young defender Jerry Flynn is after. The fullback has been one of the Reds' more polished performers this season, and he'll need to be sharp this evening against Crusaders.
There's always a good game between us and Crusaders, and hopefully with a bit of luck, and McCann's on his game tonight, Stokes's starting to bang a few in, so hopefully we'll get the right result tonight. We make it hard for teams to beat us, so if we can go 1 or 2-0 up in the first half, maybe the second half, we'll just hold on to the lead. Just in the last few games, we just seem to be 1-0 behind and clawing our way back into a 1 each.
It's the second time this season that the two sides have met in a semi-final. Crusaders won 4-0 in the Ulster Cup back in September, but it's likely to be a lot closer this evening.
We'll be looking to put another trophy in the cabinet. Hopefully we'll go out and be confident and just play the way we can play. In the last couple of games we've been just grinding for results, but hopefully we can go out and play a bit of football and get the result that matters.
The trophies on the Flynn sideboard reflect on 3 years of personal success at Solitude. A County Antrim Shield winners' medal with the team would improve the collection.
And finally, former Northern Ireland
Crusaders to a 2-1 win in December. Currently the Crews are second in the title race. The Reds are bottom, although this Paul Stokes goal earned them a draw on Saturday with league leaders Coleraine. Right, well, Cliftonville boss Marty Quinn is here. Marty, let's clear up something first of all. Your winger Tim McCann keeps being linked with Newrytown. What is the situation?
Well, the situation in terms of Cliftonville player, he's another 2 years on his contract to go, and to be quite honest with you, no one from any clubs have made any approaches to Cliftonville Football Club, so as far as I'm concerned, it's all speculation.
And you'd like to keep him?
I certainly would, yeah, he's one of the better players, but I mean, every player has their price. If Newry want to act big and come in with a big offer, let's look at it then.
You're bottom of the table, but looking at that, 7 draws in 15 games, it could all be so different.
It could indeed, Jackie, yeah. I mean, maybe another couple of points at it, that we could be making a challenge for the championship, but I've never doubted our players' ability. I believe that we will climb the table. One of these fine days we'll get a couple of wins under our belts.
I was going to say, you have a fairly good squad.
Very good squad of players at the club at the moment. I'm hoping we can prove that tonight.
Crusaders, always tough encounters, aren't they?
Oh, they sure are. They're a good side. Crusaders are coming for a lot of criticism with grinding out results, but they're a quality team with players, excellent players throughout the park.
And you'd like to win it. It would mean a lot to the club.
It certainly would. We've got a taste of it winning the Coca-Cola last year. It would be nice to add to it.
Is Sean Strang playing tonight?
No, Sean hasn't made it tonight. Actually, it's a hamstring injury. I have another 2 or 3 players haven't made it, unfortunately.
OK. Marty, thank you very much. I'll let you get back to the dressing room. Thanks a lot for joining us.
OK,
right, still
Shield tonight in the first semi-final. They beat Crusaders 2-1. Touch inside from McCann. Sipped away by McKeown. This is McMullen. Took a deflection, and it's gone in. Trevor McMullen scores for Crusaders. McMullen's shot was a wicked one. They took a slight deflection, and Paul Rice couldn't do anything about it. McCann. Now here's Stokes. Was he fouled? Referee says yes. Glenn Dunlop, the Crusaders captain, impeded Paul Stokes. That's a penalty for Cliftonville. So Stokes has this to level the game. It's 1 inch. This is Stephen Small. And he's on with the...